At 6-7 every morning, I woke beside a woman I did not remember marrying. On the 23rd morning, I woke with a knife against her throat. She did not move. She lay on top of the blankets in a black silk shirt, one hand open beside her head, pale gray eyes fixed on mine. There was no panic in them, no anger, only the exhausted patience of someone who had survived this moment before. "My name is Alesha Voss," she said quietly. "You are safe. The knife is yours." My fingers tightened around the handle. Beyond the bedroom windows, dawn turned the city into silver glass. I did not know the penthouse. I did not know the scar crossing the woman's left eyebrow. I did not know why a gold band rested on my finger. But I knew the name Voss. Everyone in Belladonna City did. Alesha Voss controlled the docks, half the private security companies, and enough politicians to make newspapers lower their voices when they printed hers. People called her the Mafia queen when they thought she could not hear them. She was also an alpha. Even through the neutralizing vents, I could feel the restrained pressure of her scent, cedar, cold rain, and something warmer she was forcing beneath control. I pressed the blade closer. "Why am I in your bed?" Her gaze moved to the ring on my hand. "Because 11 months ago you asked me to marry you. That is not funny. I have never found it funny. Where is my phone?" "On the table beside you." "Your attorney is the first contact. Your sister is the second. A neurologist who does not work for me is the third." I glanced toward the table without lowering the knife. A phone rested beside a glass of water. Under it lay a white card covered in handwriting I recognized as my own. "Nessa, breathe. The woman in front of you is Alesha Voss. You will not remember her, this room, or anything that happened after sunset yesterday. Do not trust the ring. Do not trust photographs. Do not trust fear just because it arrives first. Ask for today's reason." The final line had been pressed so hard into the card that the ink had cut the paper. I looked at Alesha. "What is today's reason?" For the first time, pain crossed her face. "Not until midnight." "Why?" "Because those were your rules." I slid out of bed, keeping the knife between us. Alesha remained still while I backed toward the door. When I reached it, she spoke again. "There is a red cord beside the lock. Pull it and every door between here and the street will open. No guard will stop you. You expect me to believe the head of the Voss family would let a witness walk away? You are not my witness." Her voice roughened. "You are my wife." I pulled the cord. Locks released through the penthouse one after another. Alesha closed her eyes. She had known I would do it. That frightened me more than if she had tried to stop me. I found clothes folded in a dressing room, all in my size. Half the wardrobe was soft sweaters and dark trousers I might have chosen. The other half held severe black suits that belonged to Alesha. Our clothes touched along the rail as if they had been sharing space for years. In the bathroom, 2 toothbrushes stood in the same glass. Mine was blue. A strip of black tape had been placed above the mirror. "Do not let anyone give you the white capsules." The message was in my handwriting. Below it, written smaller, were 4 words. "Find the white gloves." I stared until the letters blurred. "Nessa." Alesha called from outside the room. She did not enter. "Stay there." "I will." "Who gives me white capsules?" Silence. Then Dr. Marrow prescribed them. "Do I take them every night?" Another pause. "You stopped 3 nights ago." I opened the bathroom cabinet. Vitamins, scent blockers, a sealed medical kit, no white capsules. "Why did I stop?" "You refused to tell me. And you accepted that? You are an adult. I asked whether stopping would put you in immediate danger. You said no." I looked at my reflection. I was 29, an Omega, a forensic auditor, and apparently reckless enough to marry the most dangerous alpha in Belladonna City. My brown hair had been cut shorter than I remembered. A thin scar ran across my palm. I had no memory of receiving it. The last clear day in my head was 11 months earlier. I had been sitting in a government office, preparing to testify that Voss Maritime had moved illegal weapons through Pier 9. I remembered the evidence. I remembered the prosecutor promising protection. I remembered seeing Alesha Voss across a courthouse corridor, dressed in black, watching me as if she already knew my name. After that, there was nothing. 11 months erased. I called my sister. Lena answered before the first ring ended. "What color is the kitchen?" she asked. "I don't know," her breath shook. "Blue, it's morning then. Tell me where I am. At Alesha's penthouse. Am I being held? No. Are you afraid of her? I was, I'm not anymore." I leaned against the sink. Lena never trusted easily. When our parents died, she had been 19 and I had been 23. We had learned to check every promise twice. Did I really marry her? Yes, I signed as your witness. Why? Because you loved her. That is not a reason. No, Lena said. It's an answer. You built the reasons yourself. She told me to call my attorney, Mara Chen, and not to leave the protected floor until Mara arrived. She refused to explain more over the phone. When I asked whether Alesha could hear us, Lena laughed once without humor. If Alesha wanted to listen, she would not need to hide it. That is one of the reasons you trusted her. 20 minutes later, Mara entered the penthouse carrying a locked metal case. She was a beta in her 40s with silver-framed glasses and the expression of a woman who billed powerful people for wasting her time. I remembered her from an audit 5 years ago. That memory steadied me. She set the case on the dining table while Alesha waited on the other side of the room. "Ms. Voss," Mara said, "please leave us." Alesha did not argue. At the door, she looked at me, not at the knife still in my hand, at me. "The red cord remains active," she said. "So does the elevator." Then she left her own home. Mara opened the case. Inside were legal documents, medical scans, recordings, and 22 black envelopes arranged by date. A space waited for the 23rd. "Each morning, we begin with verification," Mara said. "I work for you, not Alesha. My fees are paid by a trust you controlled before the memory damage. Alesha cannot remove me, change the terms, or access our meetings." She showed me the trust records, then our marriage certificate, then a video recorded 12 days earlier. I appeared on the screen wearing the same blue sweater I had found in the closet. "Good morning, Nessa," the other me said. "You are about to look for proof that this recording was forced. Good, keep doing that." I leaned closer. The woman on the screen held up both hands. The scar on her palm matched mine. "At 6/7, your memory returns to the morning after you entered witness protection. Everything after that feels missing. During the day, you can form new memories normally. Sleep triggers the loss." "We do not yet know why." She swallowed. "You have been awake for 22 days and lost Alesha 22 times." Behind the camera, someone inhaled sharply. Alesha. The recorded version of me glanced toward the sound. Her whole face softened. Mine did not. "Do not let that reaction make your decision," she continued. "Alesha agreed to one rule. She may show you one reason to stay each night, but she cannot ask you to believe you love her. You decide what every reason means. If you leave, she lets you go." The recording ended. Mara pushed the stack of envelopes toward me. "You may read the earlier ones. Why not today, S? You ordered me not to allow it before midnight. I am ordering you now. Morning, you anticipated that." She passed me a signed instruction in my own hand. Night truth must be earned by daylight evidence. No skipping ahead. I disliked the woman I had become almost as much as I admired her. The first envelope contained a hospital bracelet bearing Lena's name and a photograph of Alesha sitting outside an operating room. The note explained that Lena had been caught in the courthouse attack meant for me. Alesha had donated blood, threatened no doctor, demanded no favor, and left before Lena woke. The second held a copy of the order dissolving the Pier 9 weapons route. Alesha had turned over 3 of her own captains and surrendered evidence that cost the Voss organization $40 million. The third contained the lease to Lena's rehabilitation clinic. It was not owned by Alesha. It was owned by Lena. The fourth held a brass token from a late-night diner. My note read, "She listened for 3 hours and did not touch me once." The fifth contained a bullet flattened against a silver cigarette case. My handwriting beneath it said, "She stood between me and a man who called my testimony betrayal." She did not kill him. She made him testify too. Every envelope offered evidence I could verify independently. Bank records, court filings, security footage. Messages I had sent to Mara before the memory loss. None asked me to trust romance. They asked me to examine choices. By noon, I knew 3 things. Alesha Voss had dismantled part of her own empire because I proved it was hurting innocent people. Someone had poisoned me 6 weeks after our private wedding, and every night before I slept, I had chosen to remain in the penthouse. I still left at 1:15. Alesha was waiting in the private elevator lobby. 4 guards stood behind her, but when the doors opened, she dismissed them with a glance. "Mara told you I'm leaving," I said. "She told me you exercised your legal right to leave. Does everything you say sound like a contract? Only when I'm frightened." I stepped into the elevator. She did not follow. "You're not going to stop me." "No." The doors began to close. I put my hand between them. "Where will you be?" "Across the street until midnight." "Why?" "Because the last 2 attacks happened after you left my security perimeter. You could have mentioned that sooner. Then it would sound like a reason to stay." The elevator doors waited. I studied the woman who claimed to be my wife. Her power was obvious. The restraint cost her more effort than the threat ever would have. "Come with me," I said. "1 car, no convoy, you sit in front." "Agreed. And if I tell you to leave?" "I leave." She stepped into the elevator only after I moved aside. My apartment was on the 4th floor of a narrow brick building near the old financial district. I remembered buying it. I did not remember turning the spare bedroom into a wall of evidence. Photographs covered corkboards from floor to ceiling. Shipping manifests, family trees, medical charts. Newspaper clippings about Voss Holdings. At the center hung a picture of Alesha and me beneath a white camellia arch. Neither of us wore traditional bonding colors. I wore dark blue. Alesha wore gray. Our hands were joined, but her head was bowed as if she had asked permission even after I said yes. I turned toward her. She stood in the doorway, careful not to cross the threshold. "Did we live here?" "For 4 months. The Mafia queen lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above a bakery. The bakery was excellent. That cannot be the reason. No, their coffee was terrible." It was the first thing she said that made me smile. Her expression changed as if sunlight had entered the room. I stopped smiling. She looked away first. On the desk lay a notebook locked by a 4-digit code. I tried my birthday. Lena S., the date on the marriage certificate. Nothing. Alesha watched from the hall. "Do you know the code?" I asked. "Yes, tell me." "You made me promise not to." "Convenient. Very inconvenient." I searched the desk drawers and found a photograph of a harbor clock stopped at 6:07. On the back, I had written "Midnight runs backward." I entered 7060. The notebook opened. The first page held a list of names connected to Pier 9. Some were crossed out in green, others in red. The final name had been cut from the paper so carefully that no impression remained. On the second page, I had written the same warning as the bathroom mirror. "Find the white gloves before reason 30. "What happens at reason 30? I asked. Alesha's face went still. "You said you would remember who poisoned you. And you believed me. You had not been wrong yet." A floorboard creaked in the hall. Alesha moved before I understood the sound. She crossed the room, pulled me behind the desk, and caught a suppressed shot in the bookcase where my head had been. The apartment exploded into motion. Alesha pushed a small pistol into my hand. "3 rounds, she said. "Safety is off. Fire only if you see the weapon. You brought a gun into my apartment? You put it in the umbrella stand 8 months ago." Another shot tore through the doorframe. Alesha did not return fire blindly. She kicked the bedroom door shut, pulled the fire alarm, and threw a chair through the window. Sirens began below. "That was your escape plan?" I asked. "No, it was yours." She pointed to the old iron fire stairs beyond the broken window. We climbed into the rain. The shooter entered as my feet reached the lower landing. A white-gloved hand appeared between the curtains. I saw the black shape of a weapon. I fired once. The shot struck the window frame. The attacker withdrew. Alesha could have chased them. Instead, she followed me down. At street level, she caught my shoulders and searched my face. "Are you hurt?" "No." She released me immediately. Her own sleeve was dark with blood where glass had cut her arm. I reached for it. She stepped back. "You don't have to. I know." I tore a strip from the lining of my coat and wrapped the cut. Her pulse beat hard beneath my fingers. "Did you see the shooter?" she asked. "Only a glove. White." I looked up. She already knew. "Who wears white gloves?" "Vera Callow." The name was written on the family tree in my evidence room. Alesha's aunt, her mother's oldest friend, the woman who had raised her after both parents died. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because Vera's hands were burned saving me from the car that killed my mother. She has worn gloves for 20 years. That does not make her innocent." "No." Alesha looked toward the broken window. "It makes me afraid I will decide she is guilty because losing her would hurt less than doubting her." That answer did not belong to the monster in the newspapers. It belonged to a woman who knew power could corrupt even grief. By the time police sealed the apartment, the shooter had escaped through the neighboring roof. The building cameras had failed 7 minutes before the attack. Someone knew the exact time I would leave the penthouse. Only Mara, Alesha, and Dr. Selene Marrow had received my updated security schedule. At 7 that evening, I met Dr. Marrow in a neutral clinic guarded by officers Mara selected. Selene was an Omega neurologist with calm brown eyes and a gold chain connecting her glasses. She showed me scans of my hippocampus and blood tests marked with dates I could not remember. "The compound in your system is called lethe," she said. "It was developed to disrupt scent-linked memory during interrogation. It should have cleared in 48 hours. But mine hasn't. Your suppressants were contaminated with microdoses. Each capsule renewed the effect. I remembered the warning on the mirror. You prescribed those capsules." Selene's face tightened. "I prescribed a blue tablet produced in my clinic. Someone replaced it before delivery." "How do I know that?" "You don't." She slid a sealed sample across the table. "So I brought the original batch, the pharmacy logs, and my resignation. Test all 3 anywhere you choose." Alesha stood behind me. She had not spoken since we entered. "Who delivered the medicine?" I asked. Selene looked at her. "Vera." Alesha's scent sharpened. The clinic vents hummed louder in response. "You told me deliveries came through medical security," she said. "They did until 3 weeks after Nessa was poisoned. Vera said she wanted to reduce the number of people with access. And you allowed it. You signed the order." Alesha went silent. I understood then how a queen could be controlled, not by someone stronger. By someone trusted enough to place the right paper beneath her hand. Selene explained that after 3 nights without the capsules, my blood level had begun to fall. Sleep might still erase the day, or it might preserve fragments. There was no safe way to force recovery. Will I remember Alesha tomorrow? I don't know. Will I ever recover the 11 months? I don't know that either. I hated her for the honesty. Alesha thanked her for it. At 11:50, we returned to the penthouse. A black envelope waited on the dining table. Reason 23. I sat across from Alesha while rain moved down the windows. "What usually happens now?" I asked. "You open it. And then? Sometimes you ask questions. Sometimes you shout at me, once you threw a plate." "At you, at the wall. Did I miss?" "Deliberately. I touched the envelope but did not open it. What if the reason is that you love me? Then it is a bad reason." I looked up. Alesha's eyes were red with fatigue. "Love can explain why I want you here," she said. "It cannot decide whether you should stay." Midnight arrived. I opened the envelope. Inside was the red cord from a second safe house, removed from its wall and coiled neatly around a brass key. My note said she built an exit into every room before she asked me to enter one. On the back, another line had been written in ink visible only beneath the table lamp. The exits spell a name. I examined the key. 3 tiny notches marked one side, one marked the other. "Where are the objects from the earlier envelopes?" I asked. Alesha pointed to the metal case. I laid all 23 across the table. The hospital bracelet had 2 clipped corners. The Pier 9 order contained 4 punched holes. The diner token carried a scratch shaped like an arrow. Every object had a mark too deliberate to be damage. "These are not only reasons," I whispered. "No, you knew." "I suspected on reason 9. You ordered me not to solve it for you." Why would I hide a code inside proof of our relationship? Because Vera could search your files, she could monitor your calls, she could even read your morning instructions. I arranged the objects by date. Marks became numbers. Numbers became letters. The first 7 spelled a word. Bellaro. Not a name, a place. The Bellaro Hotel had been Voss territory for 60 years. Its clock tower overlooked the harbor. Midnight runs backward. The next 8 objects formed a time. 607. The last 8 formed an instruction. Trust dawn. Reason 30 is at the Bellaro clock, I said. Alesha's face changed. That hotel is where you were poisoned. Then tomorrow we go back. No, it was the first direct refusal she had given me. I leaned back. You do not decide. You are right. Her jaw tightened. I am asking you not to go, because it is dangerous, because I watched you stop breathing there. The room became very quiet. Alesha looked down at her hands. I found you on the clock stairs. Your pulse was gone. Selene brought you back, but when you opened your eyes, you called me Ms. Voss. Her control broke on the last word. I had no memory of loving her, but my body recognized the shape of her grief. I reached across the table, then stopped before touching her. May I? Alesha nodded. I covered her hand with mine. The gold band on my finger caught the light. Nothing returned. No wedding, no first kiss. No 11 lost months, only the present. Her hand trembling beneath mine, my choice not to move away. At sunrise, I may not know you, I said. I know. What do you do when that happens? I introduce myself. Every time, and if I never remember. She turned her hand beneath mine, but did not close her fingers until I did first. Then, I will never use yesterday to steal today from you. I stayed awake until 5:40. Alesha slept in a chair beside the window because I had not invited her back into the bed. I watched dawn gather behind the towers and tried to hold every detail of her face. At 6:06, she opened her eyes. Nessa! I knew why she sounded afraid. The clock changed. 6:07. The room vanished without moving. One moment I was holding Alesha's hand. The next I was standing beside a stranger in a dark penthouse, gripping fingers I could not remember taking. I pulled away. Alesha rose slowly. My name is Alesha Voss, she said. My heart pounded. Then something impossible happened. I smelled cedar and cold rain, and remembered a red cord. Not the room, not the conversation. Only my own hand covering hers and a sentence spoken in darkness. I will never use yesterday to steal today from you. The fragment lasted less than a breath, but it was mine. You remembered something, Alesha whispered. I looked at the clock. Trust dawn. She went perfectly still. That is what the code said, I continued. I don't know the code, I don't know you, but I know those words. Alesha's eyes filled. She did not come closer. Good morning, Nessa. For the first time, I heard hope in her voice. I did not tell her I trusted the fragment. Trust was not a feeling. It was a conclusion, and one surviving sentence was not enough to reach it. I called Mara. We repeated the verification process. When she showed me the recording from yesterday, I watched myself touch Alesha's hand and understood why morning me had left no instruction to avoid her. Then I found a new message beneath my wristwatch. I had written it on my skin in ink, so pale it appeared only when I turned my arm toward the window. Tell Vera the clock opens at 9:14. The real time is not a time. I covered the message before Alesha saw it. Your aunt is coming here, I said. Her hope disappeared. I can stop her. No, let her come. You saw the glove at the apartment. I saw a white glove. If that is enough to convict someone in your world, I understand why you need an auditor. Her mouth almost moved. You said that the first week we met. Was it funnier then? Nothing you said to me was funny then. And now? Now I know better than to admit it. Vera Callow arrived at 9. She was a tall alpha in her late 50s, elegant in cream silk and severe pearls. White leather covered both hands to the wrist. The scars above them were real. So was the affection in her face when Alesha entered the room. Vera touched her niece's cheek. You look as though you haven't slept in a month. 23 days, Alesha said. Vera's gaze moved to me. Sympathy replaced affection so smoothly that I nearly missed the calculation beneath it. Nessa, darling, do you know me today? Should I? No, her voice softened. Perhaps that is a mercy. Alesha stepped between us without making the movement obvious. Vera noticed. Still guarding her from everyone, she said. Even family. Especially family. Pain crossed Vera's face. For one dangerous second, I wondered if Alesha had misjudged her. Then Vera looked at the empty place on the dining table where the envelopes had been. You opened reason 23. I had not told her which reason we had reached. Neither had Alesha. I walked toward the windows so she could not see my expression. It told me about the Bolero clock, I said. Alesha turned sharply. I continued before she could stop me. 9:14, the date her mother died. Vera became very still. Alesha's mother had died on April 19th. 9:14 was meaningless. Of course, Vera murmured. Lucia always loved sentimental locks. There it was, not a confession, not proof. Knowledge she should not possess. I turned back. You knew the clock was locked. Vera's eyes met mine. Every old Voss building has secrets. That was not my question. The warmth left her face. For the first time, I saw why Alesha's enemies had once feared the woman who raised her. Memory loss has made you suspicious, Vera said. Auditing made me suspicious. The memory loss only made other people careless. Alesha moved to my side. Vera sighed. You see danger in me, but you wake in her locked tower every morning. Has she told you how many people she buried to become queen? 6, Alesha said. Vera glanced at her. 7, Alesha corrected. If you count father, whose ventilator I turned off when the doctors declared him gone. The cruelty of Vera's question died beneath the answer. Alesha did not sanitize her history for me. She gave me names, dates, and circumstances. 2 deaths had happened in armed defense. 3 had been ordered by her father. 1 man had died in a warehouse fire while Alesha tried to reach him. The final death was her father's. Every file is with Mara, she said. Nessa has seen them on 9 different mornings. Vera looked at me with something close to pity. And she still stays? Every night, I said. That answer angered her. Only for an instant, it was enough. Vera left 5 minutes later. Alesha waited until the elevator descended before facing me. 9:14? A lie. You could have warned me. Your reaction had to be real. You used me. The quiet accusations stopped me. I had expected admiration, maybe irritation, not hurt. Yes, I said. Alesha looked away. I'm sorry. Are you? I am sorry I made you part of the test without asking. I am not sorry I tested her. She nodded once. Both can be true. The ease with which she accepted a complicated answer made the apology heavier, not lighter. I promised to include her in the next plan. She did not forgive me immediately. That made me trust her more. We spent the afternoon tracing Vera's access. She had approved the medical courier change. She had entered the Bolero Hotel on the night I was poisoned. She had also transferred $2 million to a shell company that owned the apartment across from mine. Every fact pointed toward her. None explained why. At 6, Lena arrived with food from the bakery below my apartment. She hugged me before I could decide whether I remembered enough to accept it. Sorry, she whispered, releasing me. Yesterday you said hugs were allowed. Today they are too. Her eyes filled. We ate in the kitchen while Alesha remained in her office. Lena told me about the months I had lost. Not the romance. The work. After the courthouse attack, I had discovered that the Pier 9 weapons route was only one branch of a larger operation called Nightglass. Someone inside the Voss family had been using refugee transport ships to move people who never appeared on official manifests. Alesha had believed the ships carried medicine. When I proved the truth, she shut the route down in one night. That decision started a war inside her organization, Lena said. Old captains wanted the money. Vera told Alesha to compromise. She didn't. No, she gave victims the shipping records and paid restitution from her personal holdings. Why did I marry her? Lena smiled sadly. Because one night you asked what she would do if saving you cost her the throne. What did she say? She said the throne was furniture. That sounded like Alesha. I had known her for less than a day and somehow knew what sounded like her. At midnight, Reason 24 contained a signed amendment to the Voss family charter. It removed an alpha spouse's automatic authority over an omega partner's medical care, property, and movement. My note read, she changed a law that benefited her before she asked me to live beneath it. The marks hidden in the document produced 2 more letters, N and O, not a time. The next morning, I remembered the smell of burned sugar from Lena's pastries. I did not remember eating them. I remembered Alessia saying both can be true. I did not remember what we had argued about. The fragments were small, but they had crossed the dark. Dr. Marrow confirmed the lethe level in my blood had fallen again. She warned us that returning to the Bolero could trigger traumatic sensory recall. Alessia wanted to postpone. I refused. This time, she knew the plan before we began. We entered the hotel through separate doors. The Bolero had been closed since my poisoning, but its grand lobby still smelled of wax, old velvet, and sea air. A black clock hung above the central staircase. Its hands had stopped at 6:07. I stood beneath it and felt my pulse race. No memory came, only terror without an image. Alessia waited 10 steps away. "Tell me what you need," she said. "Not come here. Not let me hold you. Tell me what you need." "Your voice," I said. She spoke about the room. 12 windows, 4 exits, 2 guards I had selected, Mara at the front desk. Selene monitoring my pulse from the lobby. The facts gave my fear edges. I climbed the staircase. Halfway up, the scent of white magnolia reached me. The hotel disappeared. I was kneeling on the clock stairs at midnight, struggling to breathe. A white-gloved hand pressed a capsule between my lips. Vera's voice told me it was medicine. Behind her, someone turned the clock backward. Alessia shouted my name from below. Vera leaned close and whispered, "By morning, the only person you can expose will be the woman you no longer remember loving." The vision broke. I fell against the banister. Alessia reached the bottom of the stairs, then stopped herself from climbing. "Nessa, come up." She crossed the distance in seconds. I took her sleeve rather than her hand. She remained still while the memory moved through me again. White magnolia, Vera, the clock running backward. "She poisoned me here," I said. Alessia's body went cold beneath my fingers. "Did you see her?" "Yes." It was the proof she had feared and needed. She did not order Vera's death. She called Mara. "Prepare the evidence for the public prosecutor," she said. "All of it, including my family records." That choice cost her the last illusion of privacy her family possessed. She made it before asking whether the evidence could destroy her too. At the top of the stairs, we found the clock mechanism behind a carved panel. The main gear could be turned counterclockwise, but a keyhole at its center did not fit the brass key from Reason 23. 6 narrow slots surrounded it. 6 objects, I said. 7 reasons remain. 1 to tell us which 6, 1 to tell us what they opened. A slow clap echoed through the lobby. Vera stood below us. She had entered through an unguarded service corridor that did not appear on the modern plans. Alessia's security raised their weapons. Vera raised empty white hands. "Will you shoot the woman who taught you to hold a spoon?" she asked. "No," Alessia said. "I will let a court decide what happens to the woman who poisoned my wife." Vera looked at me. "A frightened mind invents faces. Selene warned you about false recall." "She did," I said. "That is why the hotel air filters captured the magnolia compound you used." They had not. We had only begun testing them. Vera's gaze flicked toward the ceiling vents. Another reaction, another piece. "You always were clever," she said. "You always say that before you lie. Before I regret." Alessia moved down 1 step. "Why?" The single word stripped the queen from her voice. She sounded like a daughter. Vera looked up at the woman she had raised. "Because you were going to give everything away." "I was ending Nightglass." "Nightglass kept the other families afraid. Fear kept you alive." "It made us traffickers. It made us untouchable. Nothing should make us untouchable." Vera's face hardened. "That sentence is hers." "No," Alessia said. "She only made me brave enough to say it." The guards closed around Vera. She smiled at me as they secured her wrists. "You think this ends with an arrest? In 6 days, the Voss Council votes on Alessia's succession. They will see a queen who surrendered her own blood to outsiders and an Omega wife who cannot remember choosing her. They will remove Alesha before you open that clock. Then we have 6 days, I said. Vera's smile widened. You have 6 mornings. At midnight, Alesha did not give me an envelope. Where is reason 25? I asked. I destroyed it. Why? It was the photograph of Vera carrying me from the car after my mother died. I waited. The reason said she taught me that a family is the person who runs into the fire. Alesha's voice remained level, but her hands did not. I no longer know what it proves. I understood the temptation to rewrite the past when the present became unbearable. It proves she ran into the fire, I said. What she did later does not make that false. How can you defend her? I'm not. I'm defending you from having to hate every good memory in order to condemn what she did. Alesha looked at me for a long time. Then she took the half-burned photograph from her pocket. She had not destroyed it. She had torn it once and stopped. We placed both halves together. Tiny cuts along the edges formed another pair of letters. I and SNOIS noise, I said. Midnight is not a time. The real time is not a time. Noise. The clock did not open with a number. It opened with a sound. The next 5 days did not repeat each other. They could not. Every morning took Alesha from me, but the investigation changed shape faster than my memory could erase it. On the 26th morning, I woke in my own apartment with Mara beside the door and Alesha across the street, exactly where she had promised to wait. The envelope that night contained my first audit report, covered in Alesha's handwritten objections and later corrections. My note read, she did not ask me to make the truth gentler. She changed when it proved her wrong. The hidden mark gave us the letter E on the 27th morning. The Voss Council froze Alesha's authority over the docks. She could have used private soldiers to retain control. Instead, she entered the hearing unarmed and submitted to rules written by men who feared her reforms. That night's envelope held a voting share certificate in my name. It had been issued before our marriage and placed in an independent trust. My note read, she gave me power that remained mine even if I stopped loving her. The mark gave us LNOISEL. On the 28th morning, someone released footage of me holding a knife to Alesha's throat. The city saw only 12 seconds. Commentators called me unstable. Rival families called Alesha weak for refusing to punish me. She faced the cameras alone. My wife woke in an unfamiliar room beside an alpha she knew only by reputation, she said. She defended herself. I will not allow her illness to be used as evidence against her judgment or her dignity. A reporter asked whether she still trusted me. The relevant question is whether I have behaved in a way that allows her to trust me. That night, reason 28 was not an object. It was the full security recording of the morning, released to me under my sole control. The hidden letters appeared in the file checksum. ESS noiseless. A noiseless sound, I said. Alesha looked toward the clock diagrams spread across the table. A heartbeat. On the 29th morning, I remembered her answer to the reporter. I also remembered wanting to kiss her. The desire frightened me more than the missing time. Attraction could be chemical. Gratitude could feel like devotion. 29 envelopes could create intimacy with a woman I had known for 29 separate days. I told Alesha that. She listened without interrupting. You are right, she said when I finished. You could argue. Would it change the truth? No. Then I will not use your fear as an opening. I walked closer. Do you want to kiss me? Her controls slipped. Cedar filled the space between us before the vents cleared it. Yes. Is that why you kept me here? Pain flashed across her face. I did not keep you here. Good answer. It is not an answer. It is the line I have been trying not to cross since the first morning. I placed my hand against her chest. Her heart beat hard beneath my palm, a noiseless sound. May I kiss you? I asked. You may do anything you choose. Another bad answer. She closed her eyes briefly. Yes, Nessa, I want you to kiss me. I kissed her once. There was no recovered memory, no magical certainty. Only the warmth of her mouth, the careful stillness of her hands, and my own choice to move closer. When I pulled back, she did not follow. Was that how our first kiss felt? I asked. No, worse, different. How? The first time you already loved me. My throat tightened. And this time? Alesha touched her forehead to mine only after I nodded. This time, you were brave enough not to pretend you did. At midnight, she gave me reason 29. It was a divorce agreement bearing her signature. No conditions, no claim on my property, no attempt to control the Voss shares in my trust. The date was the morning after I first forgot her. My note read she made leaving as safe as staying, then waited for me to decide which one I wanted. The hidden mark was not a letter. It was a small drawing of two hands around a pulse point. We knew what the clock required. Tomorrow is the council vote, Alesha said. If they remove me, Renata will take you out of the city. Your sister. She has no claim to the throne and no desire for it. That makes her the only Voss I trust with you. You are planning to lose. I am planning for you to survive either result. I tore the divorce agreement in half. Alesha stared at it. That was legally executed. Mara has another copy. Then why tear it? Because tonight I want to stay. Her breath caught. Tonight, I repeated. Do not turn it into forever before I get there. I won't. We slept on opposite sides of the bed with our hands resting between us. At 6-7, I forgot the kiss. I remembered the warmth. I forgot the divorce agreement. I remembered tearing paper. I forgot Alesha's name until I saw her face. Then the name returned before she could introduce herself. Alesha, I said. She gripped the edge of the chair. Yes, I did not remember loving her. But for the first time, the Mafia queen was not entirely a stranger. The council gathered at the Bellero Hotel before sunset. 21 leaders sat beneath the stopped clock. Some controlled unions. Some controlled gambling rooms, private ports, or protection networks Alesha was forcing into legitimate companies. They had tolerated reform while it made money. Ending Nightglass had cost them too much. Vera entered under guard to testify. Mara objected. The council ignored her. Vera's white gloves were gone. Burned scars twisted across both hands. Without the leather, she looked older and more human. That was deliberate. She told the council Alesha had abandoned family law for public approval. She described me as a government informant who had married an alpha I intended to destroy. Then she claimed Alesha had arranged my memory loss to prevent me from leaving with evidence of her crimes. The room shifted. Not because they believed her, because the lie gave them a respectable reason to choose what they already wanted. The council speaker turned to me. Ms. Hale, do you remember consenting to your marriage? No, Alesha did not move. Do you remember asking to live in Ms. Voss's protected residence? No. Do you remember transferring confidential information to her? No. Vera watched me with quiet satisfaction. The speaker leaned forward. Then on what basis can this council believe your presence beside her is voluntary? I placed the red release cord, the divorce agreement, the independent trust, and 29 verified reasons on the table. On the basis that consent is not a memory someone else owns, I said. It is a choice I can make now. The speaker frowned. I continued. I do not ask you to believe I loved Alesha Voss 11 months ago. I cannot testify to what I do not remember. I can testify that every morning she gave me access to counsel, transport, independent medical care, and an unlocked exit. I can testify that she surrendered evidence against her own organization when it proved people were being harmed. I can testify that the person who poisoned me expected my missing memory to count more than Alesha's documented conduct. Vera's expression changed. You sound rehearsed, she said. I wrote it this morning, and tomorrow you will not remember saying it. The evidence will. Mara placed the pharmacy records on the central screen. Cellini presented the Lethe analysis. Financial investigators traced Vera's shell company to Nightglass payments. One final link remained. The ledger inside the clock. Without it, Vera could claim ambitious subordinates had used her accounts. The council could remove Alesha while public investigators spent months proving the rest. At 11:58, the vote stood 10 for Alesha, 10 against. Vera held the deciding hereditary proxy once controlled by Alesha's mother. You should have accepted compromise, she told Alesha. I could have protected both of you. You tried to erase her. I tried to erase 11 months she would have lived. Alesha's scent struck the room like winter thunder. Every alpha at the table lowered their eyes. I did not. She looked at me and the pressure vanished. Control chosen in anger. Reason 30. The clock began to chime midnight. On the first strike, I climbed the central staircase. Alesha followed. The council rose beneath us. At the mechanism, I placed 6 marked objects into the narrow slots. The hospital bracelet, the diner token, the flattened bullet, the red cord, the torn photograph, and the signed divorce agreement. Nothing happened. Vera laughed below. You never solved it, she said. The brass key still did not fit. Midnight was not a time. Noise was not the answer. Noiseless was. I took Alesha's wrist and placed her palm against the center gear. Then I pressed my hand over hers. 2 pulse points touched the metal. The mechanism clicked. The clock hands began to turn backward. 6-7, 6-6, 6-5. The brass keyhole rotated with them until it faced upside down. I inserted the key. A panel opened behind the clock face. Inside lay a thin ledger, a voice recorder, and a final black envelope. Vera moved. She tore free from the guard nearest her and pulled a weapon from beneath the council table. Alesha turned toward the sound. I saw the barrel rise. This time, I stepped between them. The shot struck the clock casing beside my shoulder. Alesha pulled me down as the guards disarmed Vera. No one fired again. For several seconds, all I heard was the hammering of Alesha's heart against my ear. Are you hurt? She demanded. No. She checked anyway, hands stopping before every touch until I nodded. Below us, Vera knelt with guards holding her arms. You chose her again, she said. No, I answered. I chose the woman who was in danger. The fact that it was her is something you never understood. Myra opened the ledger in front of the council. It contained every nightglass route, payment, and protected official. Each entry carried Vera's private cipher and biometric seal. The voice recorder held the conversation I had captured on the night of my poisoning. My lost voice filled the lobby. Vera demanded the location of the ledger. I refused. She threatened Lena. I told her the evidence would be released if Alesha or I disappeared. Then Vera ordered someone to hold me while she forced the first white capsule into my mouth. The recording ended with Alesha shouting from the stairs. The council speaker removed Vera's proxy. The final vote was 10 against Alesha, 10 for her, 1 seat empty. Alesha looked at the share certificate from Reason 27. My trust carried the deciding vote. She could have reminded me that the shares were hers before she gave them away. She could have told me how I voted before the poisoning. She said nothing. The decision remained mine. I vote to dissolve the hereditary throne, I said. The room erupted. Alesha stared at me. If Voss Holdings is becoming legitimate, it does not need a queen, I continued. It needs an elected board, independent audits, worker representation, and a victims' restitution council with authority no family can overrule. The speaker struck the table. That motion is outside the vote. Then my vote on succession is withheld until the motion is heard. 10 council members needed my vote. 10 needed me defeated. For the first time in 60 years, the deciding power belonged to someone the family had never intended to count. Alesha began to laugh. It was not the cold sound I expected from a Mafia queen. It was breathless, astonished, and almost young. Furniture, she said. I remembered Lena's story. The throne was furniture. Alesha removed the Voss signet from her finger and placed it on the table. Hear the motion, she ordered. By dawn, the hereditary council no longer existed. Public prosecutors took custody of Vera and the nightglass ledger. 12 officials were suspended before breakfast. The illegal routes were placed under international investigation, and every victim named in my records received independent counsel funded by seized Voss assets. Alesha did not walk away untouched. Her decisions were reviewed too. The defensive deaths, the money, the threats made before I knew her, none vanished because she had later chosen better. She testified without asking for immunity. At 6-6, we stood on the hotel roof beneath a paling sky. The final black envelope remained unopened between us. 1 minute, I said. Alesha looked at the clock through the glass tower. You should sit. Will that make forgetting hurt less? No, then stay where I can see you. She did. What happens if I wake afraid? I introduce myself. What if I ask to leave? I open the door. What if I choose you again? Her eyes shone. I ask whether you are sure. The clock changed. 6-7. Night folded through my mind. The council vanished. The kiss disappeared. 29 reasons became facts without feelings, as if someone had torn the warmth from every page. I stood on a hotel roof beside the most feared alpha in the city. My hand moved toward the small blade beneath my coat. Then cedar and cold rain reached me. I remembered a red cord. I remembered torn paper. I remembered a heartbeat beneath my palm. Not everything. Enough. Your name is Alesha Voss, I said. She exhaled. Yes. We were married 11 months ago. Yes. Did I choose to stay last night? Yes. Do not tell me why. I won't. I picked up the final envelope. Inside was no legal document, weapon, key, or piece of evidence. There was only a blank sheet of paper and a pen. On the envelope, the version of me from yesterday had written one sentence. Reason 30 belongs to the woman who wakes tomorrow. I looked at Alesha. You did not prepare a final reason. You told me not to. Why? You said 30 days of evidence could explain why you stayed before. It could not make today's decision for you. The city brightened around us. Below, officers carried the night glass ledger into the morning. People Alesha had once commanded were dismantling the throne she had surrendered. My sister waited in the lobby. My attorney held the signed dissolution order. Every exit remained open. I finally understood the design of the envelopes. They had never been a campaign to make me fall in love. They were a trail leading me back to my own judgment. I wrote on the blank page. She gave me reasons, but she left the choice blank. Then I handed it to Alesha. That is not a reason to stay with me, she said. No, it is a reason to stay until I learn who we can become without a queen, a throne, or a missing year deciding for us. And the marriage paused. Pain touched her face, but she nodded. The penthouse, separate rooms, my red cord stays active. Your work, independent, you do not employ me. Us, I stepped closer. Ask me at midnight. For the next 3 months, my memory returned unevenly. First came sensations. The warmth of Alesha's coat around my shoulders. The taste of terrible coffee above the bakery. Her pulse beneath my hand. Then came moments. Our first argument in the courthouse parking garage. The night she handed me the night glass shipping records and said she would rather lose her name than protect what had been done beneath it. Lena crying at our small wedding. Alesha asking permission before placing the ring on my finger. Some memories never returned. We did not pretend they had. Selene found that the lethe damage had ended, but trauma and repeated exposure had broken the path back to parts of the lost year. I continued keeping mourning cards. Not because every sunrise erased Alesha, but because healing was not a straight line and love was not proof against illness. Alesha moved out of the penthouse before I asked. She rented the apartment across the hall. Every morning, she knocked. Every morning, I decided whether to open the door. Some days we investigated the remaining night glass accounts. Some days we argued about the new board. Some days we sat above the bakery and drank coffee neither of us liked. At midnight, she left one new reason on my table. Not an envelope, a moment. The day she apologized to a dock worker without asking to be forgiven. The day she testified against a captain who had once saved her life. The day she lost a board vote and accepted it. The day she asked what I wanted before telling me what she feared. I left reasons for her too. The day I admitted I had used her in my test of Vera. The day I chose to wear our ring again. The day I kissed her first and remembered the first time only afterward. 6 months after the Bellero vote, the old clock tower reopened as the Nightglass Archive. Survivors controlled access to the records. The Voss crest was removed from the entrance. In its place hung a simple plaque. No one is untouchable. Alesha and I stood on the roof at sunrise. She no longer wore black every day. That morning, her coat was deep blue, the color I had worn at our wedding. I have a question, she said. You always look terrified when you say that. Experience has taught me caution. She held out the divorce agreement. The clean copy Mara had kept. Do you want me to file it? I looked at the signature she had placed there on the first morning I forgot her. She had loved me enough to prepare an exit before she knew whether I would return. I tore the document carefully down the center. Mara has another copy, Alessia said. Not anymore. Her eyes widened. I asked her to destroy it yesterday. You remembered. I wrote it down. That was not what I meant. I touched the scar across her eyebrow. For months, I had waited for memory to give me permission to call my feelings real. But the past was not the only place love could live. I remember enough, I said. And what I do not remember, I can choose without pretending. Are you sure? Ask me properly. Alessia took my hands. She did not kneel. She did not offer a throne, protection, or forever as if any of them belonged to her alone. Nessa Hale, she said, will you keep building a life with me, one day at a time, for as many days as we both continue to choose it? The sun rose over Belladonna City. I knew her name. I knew her voice. I knew the woman she had been, the woman she regretted, and the woman she worked to become. Most of all, I knew the answer belonged to me. Yes, I said, but you still have to knock tomorrow. Alessia smiled. Every morning. I had spent 30 sunrises forgetting the Mafia queen. It took me longer to understand that she had never asked to be remembered as one. Every night, she left me one new reason to stay. In the end, the reason that mattered most was the one she never wrote for me. She left the page blank and waited for me to choose.